Shop RedCon1.com this Black Friday and enjoy over $260 in free product and apparel. With only a $50 purchase, you'll receive this custom premium Redcon 1 leather weightlifting belt, this limited edition 15-serving Total War pre-workout Black Ops Edition Cherry Bomb flavor. We'll even throw in this Black Friday Stealth t-shirt and our official collector's edition shaker. That $260 value is absolutely free this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Save an additional 33% off the entire site. Visit redcon1.com now to start saving.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Ronline Report. Special guest today, AARON Singerman, President and CEO of REDCON1. By now, the news has been dropped. You know that REDCON has signed the one and only Kai Greene. First of all, AARON, wow, that is, you told me there was some big news coming. That's pretty big news. Where do I begin? How long has this been in the works?
Well, I've known Kai for over a decade, initially working for Dave Palumbo and RX Muscle, and seeing Kai around the world, traveling and getting a chance to spend some time with him in India and some other places. And to be honest, I don't think that he was a huge fan of Dave Palumbo, RX Muscle, or myself back then.
Really?
No, I know you're shocked. He wasn't a huge fan. I think he has told me since then that I wrote a gossip column for my Muscle Gossip, or whatever we were calling it at the time, that he didn't like. I don't remember what it was, but he didn't like it. And so initially he kind of didn't like me. You know, he thought I was like, you know, whatever. And since then, obviously I explained, you know, when you have a job, just like if Steve Blackman says, hey, write this article, you kind of just do it. I mean, it's not my decision what article is getting placed. But to be honest with you, Kai is just a private person. So the more you meet him, the more you know him, and probably people out there will say, oh, well, Kai's a kind of a mysterious character that nobody really knows a lot about, and not as kind of like, obviously they know the body of his work, but they really don't know Kai Greene the man. And that's something that REDCON1 and I plan to rectify, because he's somebody worth knowing, that you're going to get to know a lot more of his personality. But being a kind of introverted, shy person, even though he's on stage, you know, doing his thing, he is not somebody who wants to be really, doesn't want people to know a whole lot about his life. I think that's changing as he's gotten older. But so he wasn't a big fan of what we did, and or what I did writing the article. But once he got to know me, we became friends. And then about a little over 5 years ago, we started a company together called Dynamic Muscle. Yeah. And we were 50-50 partners. And Kai came to me to do this. He had just left Muscle Meds and MHP. And he decided it was time to go with me convincing him a little bit too. Convinced him that this is not a time to go sign and be an athlete again. This is time to move on in your career. At that point, he had a little bit of competing left to do. We were hoping he was going to be doing the Olympia that year. Everybody remembers the Kai crying, all that stuff. And that really cemented our relationship as friends and as business partners. And that's a story in and of itself. It's a good story worth telling, probably, that the whole saga, because people wondered, like, what actually happened? Why did Kai not compete at the Olympia? Yeah. All that. And maybe I'll tell that story, because I know, obviously I was there. I know the whole story.
I didn't know if it was ever going to be told, honestly.
Oh, I can tell the story, Ron. But before we get to that, basically me and Kai went into business together. And right after we did, the next year in 2016, REDCON1 started. And REDCON1 took off very quickly, as you know, Ron. It was really like a rocket ship. So within a year, from 16 when we started to 17, we were already doing several times more revenue, multiples more revenue than Dynamic Muscle. And then in the following year, from 17 to 18, things really, really took off. And during that period of time, I realized that I wasn't doing the amount of work for Dynamic Muscle on my end, on the marketing end, that I thought that we would do, or that I had told him that I was going to do. And so we were in Dubai, and I had a talk with him, and I said, listen, man, REDCON is doing so well that I am inadvertently, not on purpose, inadvertently spending more time on my project, on my thing, than your thing, and I'm taking half of the money. And I said, I honestly didn't feel good about it. And I said, hey, man, like, what do you want to do? How do you want to work it out? And he was basically like, I don't know, what should we do? And so we came, after hours of discussing this on a balcony in Dubai, I said, you know what? I'm going to give you all my shares. I'm going to give you the equity. I'm going to give you the IP. I'm going to give you all the inventory. And, because I can't fulfill my part of the deal. And I think that that changed our relationship and brought it to an even different level, because obviously I don't think very many people would do that. And because of the amount of work that he put in and the kind of person he is, I just didn't feel right about trying to have him buy it or pay me over time. I just said, you know what? I've been so fortunate with REDCON, and he's been such a good friend and partner I'm the one not pulling my weight. I shouldn't penalize him. And knowing Kai Greene, the little bit that people do, you can imagine it was almost like he was trying to figure out why I was doing it, like a conspiracy theory thing, like what's going on? Why are you? It went well. He took over in 17 and he ran the company towards the end of 17 until just recently. And when the big thing is running a company of dynamic muscle size, let alone a REDCON1, you can't really do anything else. So anybody that thinks, oh, well, I could do other things or have multiple streams of income, it's very, 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 very difficult to do multiple things on that scale well. And so Kai found that out. He's got a much bigger role in Stranger Things in the new season. He has some other very big, exciting acting things. He's gotten back to painting again. I think you're going to see some really awesome new Kai Greene paintings that he's actually going to sell, which is he's never sold a painting in his life. So you remember how he did the big showing? Everybody wanted to buy it. He wouldn't sell one piece.
Wow.
He wouldn't even sell me a piece. I've tried to buy a piece for years. He wouldn't sell anything. He has it all stored, never sold anything. And so now he's looking at that. The comic book thing has started to take off. He's selling an option comic book, the King Kai comic books made into a show. So, I mean, there's a lot of cool stuff happening for Kai. And as a result, I think that he realized him and Adam Paz had to be honest with themselves and say, hey, maybe, just like I said, I'm not able to do dynamic muscle and REDCON. They kind of have to say to themselves, hey, I'm not able to do dynamic muscle and acting and comic books and art and everything else he's got going on. And so when we were talking about that issue, I said, hey, man, I would love to have Kai on the team. I think he'd be a great member of REDCON, a great ambassador, a great face. And I also think that we work together well. I'm one of the very few people that can say that they had a real working relationship with Kai, not because he's a bad guy, but because he is very particular with who he works with. And then you have to know how Kai works. He's not like every other person. So you have to understand he has some incredible strengths and he has some things that he's just not going to do. And so you have to be aware. And Adam is great because Adam's complementary to Kai. Without Adam, Kai would be lost. So he kind of, I guess basically manages is not even a strong enough word, but handles Kai's life and points him in the direction he needs to go. And then Kai, Mr. Getting It Done, gets it done, right? So this was the right time at the right place. And I know at 45 years old, Kai's timeline of competing is running down. There's not a lot of time left for him to make a move and actually retire, to come out and have an ending to an amazing career. And I know adding that complication on top of everything else going on, plus running a company, sounds like a very difficult prospect for anybody. So I think those factors all coming together, I think that this was the right time, right place, and because I like the guy so much personally, it made sense for us.
Now, everybody was hoping, because Kai said big announcement coming. So, every year around this time, well, I'm sorry, it'll be September in a normal year.
Yeah.
This is the COVID year. We're coming up on the Olympia. Everybody was hoping, praying. Kai's going to say, I'm in the Olympia. I'm doing it 100%. They just gave me a special invite or whatever, and I'm in the Olympia. I haven't heard that announcement yet. I assume he's not doing this Olympia because it's 3 weeks away now.
Right.
Less than 3 weeks.
Yeah.
3 weeks from tonight, he would be judging for the Olympia.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
So he's not in this Olympia. That's probably a foregone conclusion.
I can tell you this: he could be. I'm not telling you he will.
Yeah.
If you're asking me, will he be in this Olympia? The answer is, my opinion is no. That being said, Kai was just here a few days ago, and for a while, and Kai looks as good now today as Kai has ever looked for 3 weeks out. So he's 3 weeks out right now. At 304 pounds, his glutes are in, his quads are cross-striated, and I have the pictures to prove it. I mean, he's in condition. So when he was here, I asked him the same question. I said, so what's going on, man? I said, like, level with me. Why are you doing that? Like, you look like you're competing in the Olympia in 4 weeks. And he said that he had been dieting for this photo shoot, and that's why he's in this shape, because he's been dieting. He said he's ramped everything up because he knew he was going to come here, and that's why. And it's like, man, but like, you could do the Olympia and you could probably win, man, or you could at least be for sure he could be in the top 3, no question about it. Top 2, yeah. I mean, I honestly think he could win. I think that the powers that be are ready for Kai Greene to win at this point. I think that makes it so much more exciting. I mean, there's all kinds of things that are positive from him winning. And his old thought process of that they don't like me, or Robin Chang hates me, or all the shit with the grapefruit and all this other stuff, like, oh, they won't let me win. Right. That's not the case. I mean, I know the people. Nobody said that to me ever. They say, get Kai in the show. We want to see Kai compete. Nobody says, don't get him. We don't care. If he does, he's going to lose. Nobody has ever said anything like that. And maybe that was the case a decade ago, where they would have been focused on his past. But not anymore, man. Not anymore. In 2020, that's the least of anybody's concerns, right?
Listen, Aaron, this is I'm sure he's being paid very well. I would hope so. So in a contract, I've seen athlete contracts. There are stipulations. They have certain obligations. And very often an athlete has to compete either X amount of times a year, or in this show or that show a year, or else the contract is void. I don't expect you to give me the details of his contract in any way, shape, or form, but is there anything in his contract stipulating that he does have to compete again?
So his contract, like you said, he's very particular at stuff like this. So I didn't want to give you too many details, but I'll tell you this. I'm not paying him to not compete. Okay. I'll tell you that much. Obviously, I would like to see him compete. I know in his heart of hearts, if he were to have an honest conversation with you about how he would like to be remembered, definitely does not want to be remembered as a bodybuilder, a champion bodybuilder who just walked away without anybody knowing it. That's never been the plan. When he won all the Arnolds, when I was there, he was I was literally traveling with him to every show. He won every Arnold, and all the Arnolds he did, 3 in a row. And when the last Arnold was over, he did not think that was the last show he was doing. No way. So I think that for him, leaving bodybuilding, the sport of bodybuilding, and not having something where he says this was the end of my career and like letting people know, I don't think that's that's not in the cards for him. I think he wants to end it. Now, I will tell you, Kai's the way he thinks of bodybuilding is very different now. He thinks of his bodybuilding as more of an exhibition, or like his craft. He will look at a contest, instead of saying a contest, he's going to look at it as his best performance. So it's going to be a much different mindset, in the sense that he's not going to go there hoping to win. By actually being on stage, he's going to show the best Kai that he can and perform. And that's how he's going to look at it. He's not going to come out there trying to be the champion bodybuilder or be Mr. Olympia. His mindset is past that, where he views himself as a performer, not a bodybuilder. And that's one of the things that it's been difficult in his mind to get past, is he feels like going there and competing to win the show is not what he can mentally get his head around what he needs to do. Instead, he needs to go there, look his absolute best, because he wants to show his body of work and do the best performance-wise. And I think that where he's at in his life, if that's what he needs to, focus on, I think that's great. And honestly, I think it's interesting. I always think it's interesting when bodybuilders say they want to go to war or whatever, because it is a subjective sport, right? It's, it is what it is. So as long as he can bring his very best, and he wants to be the best to show his fans his body of work, I think that's fantastic. So I'm hoping that happens sooner than later. And I would love, if it was up to me, I would love for him to do a small show first. I would hope that he would do something smaller and then qualify organically for the Olympia, as opposed to take an invite.
Okay.
I think somebody like a Tim Gardner at a Tampa Pro would lose their mind as an opportunity to have Kai Greene. Like, I mean, imagine that. People would fly all over the world to watch Kai compete at the Tampa Pro. So something like that, I'd love to, not necessarily with Tim, I don't know. I'm sure if he hears this, he's going to be like, oh. But there's got to be something we could do where we can make it a big deal and really film a real 24/7. I have 7 people on the video team now. We could literally follow and document every part of his journey and have him stay here in Florida for the prep, follow him through the show, make sure that we have unfettered access backstage through the entire process, film the stage, just like Generation Iron did, but at a higher level than that. And really, or maybe it's in conjunction with Generation Iron. They love Kai. They're
going to want to make their own documentary about it, though.
Oh, I'm sure they would.
But that's encouraging, Aaron, because I did an interview with Kai. I think it's been a little over a year now, and I came away from that discouraged in the sense that it didn't seem to me like he was ever going to compete again, because the way he talked about competing was that it would lead to him losing all these opportunities of all these other things he's pursuing. He had just signed a motion picture deal in India to be in 3 movies in India. He's got Comic-Cons he goes to. He's got his paintings, Stranger Things. He just seemed to me like competing with something that was behind him.
I wonder, Ron, if dieting for this photo shoot, coming here, if this dieting reignites something, like knowing that you're doing this, knowing that there's a purpose. Because I can tell you, like, he doesn't look like somebody who's doing it like for fun. He looks like he's somebody who's doing it very seriously. And if he is doing it for fun and not that seriously, then that's even more encouraging, because the way that he looked when he was here is the way that most pro bodybuilders doing Olympia would hope that they could look in their best case scenario. He has more details at 3 weeks out on his physique than most guys have in their life, no matter what they do. So I'm saying he's 3 weeks out. He's whatever. He was the day of the show, I guess, supposedly, here, if that was the plan. I think he's worried. I also think, Ron, he's worried about if you go all in and you're putting everything on the line to win the Olympia. In his mind, it's an unhealthy thing because you have to go to such extremes. And my thought process is if he is exhibiting, if he's there performing, then he doesn't have to, in his mind, go to these extremes that he would have gone to otherwise. But does that even make a difference? The truth is, nobody knows. So like if he does water manipulation as diuretics and stuff at a lower level, does that mean we're not going to see a good Kai Greene? He doesn't know. How would he know? We don't know. So maybe his dieting or like the food intake is reduced and he's not forcing food. Maybe that's a better Kai,
Yeah. So, I mean, I follow him all the time on social media and his videos, and I've rarely seen him look like more than 6 weeks out from a show ever. And we haven't seen him on stage, I think, since 2014. Has it been that long? I believe that was the last time.
2015, I think. Yeah.
Was he in 2015? Oh yeah, when he did the Arnold. So, to me, he's always looked like he could jump into the Arnold, the Olympia at any given moment, but he just chose not to because he had all these other things going on where, I think
a lot of it, though, Ron, is that level of extreme that he thinks he needs to go to. But like you said, you've competed, God knows how many times, 20 times, 30 times?
About 30, yeah.
So 30 times. So you competed 30 times. When you're 6 weeks out on a day-to-day basis, and like I just saw, if you can get to that level and where your glutes are in, you're already in that kind of shape, how much more do you really need to do, to get in all the way 100% shape? I think that he may think he needs to do this crazy extreme, but if he can get his head around doing it in a way that doesn't make him feel like he's being unhealthy, which honestly, I mean, I've seen personally the bad effects, deleterious effects of taking excess diuretics, where I'm like, oh, well, if I just take another half a Diazide, I'm gonna look way better, and all of a sudden your muscles just go away.
Been there.
Yeah. So, but I wonder, right? Because I know that's specifically what concerns him is that last few days, right? Yeah. So there are ways to do it. Lots of guys do it with no diuretics at all, with water manipulation or with very mild or even herbal diuretics. So I don't think you have to, and I don't think he has to do anything where he'd be scared health-wise. Nothing that he's not already doing. Yeah. That's what I think.
Man, I was really hoping you were going to say he's doing the Olympia. If he doesn't do it, his contract is void. He gets no money. He has to do it. We promise you.
Well, I can tell you this, Ron. I can tell you this. There's definitely part of me when we're talking about him doing the Olympia this year where I was, I kind of floated the scenario of him walking into because of course Dan's going to let him do the show. I mean, there's no question. There's no question. So him going into the athletes meeting because they want him. He's going to probably go to the Olympia anyway to like be there as an ambassador. Dan's excited about trying to get in there. Just even if we don't do a booth, because there may not be any booths at the Olympia in Orlando, depending. Yeah. There's no expo as of right now.
Yeah, there's a sponsor pavilion for.
Yeah, sponsor pavilion. So
smaller.
If we do something there, right? He could be there. If we don't do something there, then he would. I'm assuming he would just be there to hand out trophies or whatever. So imagine Kai walks into the athletes meeting, right? Like Arnold in 80, goes in, sits down with everybody, and they call up Kai Greene. He gets his number and sits down. Like that would be the coolest moment in bodybuilding. And he's like,
I would faint dead away. I swear to you, I would.
I'm telling you. Yeah.
Hit the dirt. I'd hit the dirt.
Yeah. I mean, think about it. You would imagine Phil Heath. He would fall over in a seat.
Or press conference, they're in the middle of the press conference, and he comes walking down from backstage, on the microphone, on wireless microphone. Well, there's a lot of different cool scenarios.
Yeah, he could say, I look better than Phil Heath right now. And they'll be like, let's see. And then he shows, I
mean, the Olympia hasn't been the same since those 3 years. It was 2012, 13, and 14, I think, those 3 years in a row where it was him and Phil. And those were just like nail biter Olympias. You're like, nobody knew what was going to happen, who was going to win. Phil should win, Kai should win. It went down to the wire. And man, I would love to see that again. Not that Brandon's not going to give Phil a run, and who knows? It could be somebody, Rami, or somebody could come up out of the ranks looking crazy. You never know, but man, I would love to see Phil, Kai, Brandon, Rami just crushing each other on stage.
I think what it is that we've really missed. Kai is such a character that we really don't have anybody like that. Brandon is one hell of an awesome man, a great father, great guy, but he's a pretty subdued personality. You've got Phil, who I guess is the bad guy, but he doesn't have a protagonist really now. I mean, I guess you'd say Brandon, but Brandon's not. He's more quiet. He's not going to be that guy. And then you got Rami, who's like no real personality. I mean, he's not put it this way, he may be fantastic and hilarious and Egyptian, but I'm not in English. Look, he can speak English and another language. I can speak only one language, but
correct.
I've hung out with him in Kuwait before, and he's a pretty simple guy. He lives a pretty monastic lifestyle of gym, eat, massage, maybe sleep. That's kind of it. So Kai is such a unique character to get him back on stage and to get him back involved. It adds a dynamic that's just missing altogether right now. So, I'd love to see him do it.
I noticed with Redcon, you don't necessarily only sign people based on their competitive records or physique.
Right.
You do always seem to go for the characters, the personalities.
Yes.
Somebody like the late Luke, somebody like Blessing. Yeah. These people that really they're not just larger than life physically. They have these really big personalities where they're funny and they communicate well. And obviously Kai fits perfectly. And people say, who's a good fit for the company? He's a perfect fit for Redcon1.
Perfect.
Based on what you guys have been doing.
Perfect.
I don't want to forget that parking lot story, because you said you'd tell what happened that year, because no one he has never told. He wouldn't tell me last year in the interview. He dodged the question.
That's the typical Kai thing. What's funny is that when you get to know Kai on a more personal level, he really doesn't do that. He may talk for a while. He's a talker for sure once you get him going, but he really doesn't do like when Bob at the he jokes obviously at the press conferences. Bob would ask him a direct question: do you think you're going to be your best ever this year? And he'd be like, well, when thinking about the best ever, you have to consider what does that mean on a playing field that's level and long. The best, he'd do like all this weird stuff, and Bob would be like, okay, you didn't answer the question, Kai, that thing. But in real life, once you get to know the guy, he's not like that. He's like I said, he can answer in a long fashion, but he does directly answer. And otherwise, how would I be able to do any business with him at all if he was like that all the time, forever?
Well, you talk to Adam.
I talk to Adam. But you know what? Honestly, that's another interesting thing is that as those guys have had life experiences and Kai has gotten older, Kai is more and more. He called me last night on the way to the office for Black Friday, wish me luck. Say he's going to be watching the live stream. And back in the day, you couldn't even reach Kai on the phone. So you text Kai, and especially when he was training, when he was in training, he would leave his phone at home. He'd work out the whole day, spend the whole day at the gym. He'd come back and see his phone at night before bed, and that was it. Yeah. He did not look at his phone. So he's definitely come a long way with that. If I text him right now, he'll write me back in 10 minutes or less. I can call him at any time. If I need him for something, he's there. Yesterday he was like, do you want me to send you any videos? I could do selfie videos from the gym. I mean, that's stuff that you wouldn't have gotten from Kai in the past. Right. So the story. So hopefully he doesn't get mad at me for the story, but I'm just going to tell the truth. And, it is what it is at this point. So okay, we were doing Kai and I had started, and Adam had started Dynamic Muscle, and we had gotten going. We were really excited about Kai doing the Olympia that year because we felt like we had a great chance. Kai was looking tremendous, and right before we really started prepping, he got cut from Flex, and Robin Chang cut him. I don't know if it was Alan Donnelly or Robin Chang, but one of them cut him and said, "Hey, we're not paying you anymore." And he had a contract at the time for $8,000 a month, and it was a lot of money to him, and he needed the money because he had just left. Remember, MHP had left, So we just started this new business. He wasn't making any money from our business yet. Obviously, when you start a supplement company, even if you're really, really good and really, really profitable, it takes months to make money, or years to make money. With Redcon, I didn't take $1 out of the company for 18 months. Wow. So I made zero for 18 months. So it's a business that needs to be, especially as you're coming out with new products, you have to reinvest your capital. Right. So he wasn't making money from us. And at that point in time, he was still doing some appearances to make money. But when he started prepping, right when he was starting prepping, he had basically discontinued doing appearances. And I wasn't going to tell him he had to for Dynamic. So basically, that was his money. That was what he had coming in, is that $8,000. And he got a call, and they're like, "Yeah, we're cutting you." And he was like, "Wait, I have 8 months left of my contract." And they're like, "Nope, we're cutting you." And he's like, "Well, but I need that money." And so basically, Robin was like, "Sorry, like, what do you want us to do? That's it."
Tough titty.
Yeah, basically. And there's no real recourse for an athlete, and that happens all the time. And it is what it is. But Kai took it very, very hard, where he felt like I had given his heart and soul, his images to them. And, he had left MD before to go over there. He thought by leaving MD and switching to them, it would help him in some fashion. And so he thought that it was going to be like a good move. I think that Steve was paying him as much or more at that point. So he had taken a pay cut, and he felt very, 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 very hurt, super hurt. And so, basically I did what I could do to help him out, but he was kind of was a very financially difficult point for him. So anyway, because he also invested in real estate, did other things where some of his money was already tied up now because he thought he was, so he had done things that weren't bad, smart things with his money, but it had reduced the availability to use money. To have it available to him. So we're coming up to Olympia, and he's dieting, and so Robin Chang reaches out and says, "Hey, I need you to sign your athlete contract." And in the contract, it says they have the unlimited right to use his images. And so he gave it to me, and he goes, "What do you think?" And I said, "I mean, it's probably the standard contract for everybody." He's like, "Yeah, but I haven't got my money that they owe me, and they just cut me. So I didn't want to sign this contract." And so I was like, "Oh, I mean, I get where you're coming from." He's like, "We should wait till the last minute to sign it so they can't use my images in all the magazines they're not paying me for anymore." And I was like, "Yeah, makes sense to me. Let's hold out, right?" Yeah. But as we got closer and closer, we got more and more pressure from Robin being like, "Well, I don't know if you're gonna be able to do the show." And it was bullshit. He was bluffing. Obviously, he's not gonna not let Kai do the show. Right. So he was bluffing, but Kai hated that. Every time that he heard from Robin, "I don't know if you're gonna be able to do the show now," he got more and more upset. And how is this guy fucking me? He fucked me for my money, and now he's pressuring me to use my pictures in the magazine for free to sign this contract. And he's telling me I'm not gonna be able to do the show. He's gonna hurt me financially even more. And so I worked out a deal with Robin to give us the booth, a big booth space at the Olympia for free. Okay. So this way I could get look, I can make peace. We can get this booth for free because the booths are for free for Robin anyway. You can give them out at the willy-nilly. There's plenty of room. So you can give out the booth. He gave out the booth to Phil Heath when they did the Phil Heath thing, whatever that was. Not Phil Heath Labs, whatever the other one was. Oh, Gifted. He gave him the Gifted. He gave him $80,000 booth to Gifted. We knew that. Wow. They gave him a big presence. Remember the year Gifted launched? They had a big booth. It was for free. Yeah. Oh, wow. Now he still had to pay for getting the stuff there, building the booth, just the space, and the sponsorship was free. So, and we had known that, and they admitted that. And so this is all, this is all agreed. And they go, "Okay, we'll give you a booth, a large booth at a sponsorship." And they're like, "But we need Kai to sign the contract first." Yeah. And so I brought it to Kai, and Kai's like, "Well, I'm not signing the contract unless we can get a contract for the booth." And so I went back to Robin and said, "Robin, you gotta understand where Kai's coming from. He needs a contract for the booth. As soon as he gets the contract for the booth, he'll sign the Olympia contract." And Robin's like, "No way." And he's like, "I don't trust him. No way." And I was like, "Yeah, well, you see what this is doing now, Robin. You guys are like this. He is not going to sign your contract unless you sign yours because he already thinks you're a liar because you cheated him out of his money." And he's like, "I didn't cheat him out of his money. You cut him from the contract." I was like, "Yeah, but he had 8 months left in the contract. He needed the $64,000. Yeah. He's like, "Well, I'm going to give him a booth that's worth that money, so we're even." I'm like, "Yeah, but you need to." You can see how now it's getting. You need to say that you're doing that on paper, and then he'll sign the thing. He's like, "No." He's like, "No." He's like, "Then he just won't do the show." And so we kept going back and forth with this. And Kai's dieting. He's ready. He's literally ready to compete. And the week before the show, Kai says, look, I'm ready. I'm flying to Vegas. Or am I getting a booth? We had already paid for all the booth stuff that he made. We're like doing all we put together the stuff for the booth. Yeah. And so Robin wouldn't budge and said, no, I'm not doing it. I don't care. He has to sign the contract first. And it came to like a head where Kai wouldn't sign the contract, which I don't blame him. I mean, like he got screwed totally. And then here's these guys trying to screw him again. And that's how he viewed it, as like, these guys are screwing me again. And I did everything in my power to try to make peace and make it work. But at the end of the day, Robin reached out and said, Kai's no longer allowed to compete. It's too close. He can't compete in the show now. And so I told that to Kai and Adam, and you saw the response where Kai cried at the video and said, I'm not allowed to compete. And keep in mind, Kai's had a tough life. He's been screwed over a lot by a lot of people. And that's why I'm sure he's even more sensitive than most people would be. And then the fact that he put his heart and soul into preparing for this Olympia, here he is thinking he's going to win. And I mean, when I say put his heart and soul, he did everything humanly possible, then some, to be in shape. And then you got this guy who has no idea what's going on, a moron, Robin Chang. And he's like, he's going to basically put himself head to head with this guy because he is some dumb bodybuilder and he's not going to trust him. Literally, I don't trust him. And you got Kai, who has every reason not to trust him. Yeah. And at the end of the day, he said he can't do the show. So, it was like a confluence of bad events. If Robin wasn't the person that he is, the fantastic contest promoter that he is, and then you have Kai, who's a very unusual artistic guy who's had a tough history, who just wanted to do the show and didn't want to get screwed and had already been screwed once. I think that these events came together with this explosion, and it was really, really, really unfortunate. Not just for Kai, not just for the Olympia, and for me. It was bad for War Dynamic. It was bad for us as a business. I think that it kind of poisoned Kai against the Olympia in general, where he basically, if he thought before that they were not rooting for him, they were against him. Well, now he's for sure believes that now. Now, the Olympia is very different than it was before. You have David Pecker, who's no longer owns the Olympia. You've got Jake Wood, a tremendous bodybuilding fan, a great guy who's in it for all the right reasons. And then you got Dan Solomon, who is an actual contest promoter who's actively promoting the contest, wants the best for the contest, for the history of bodybuilding, for his employer, Jake Wood. So things are very different now, very, very different. So also the world is different. So you have all of these things, where the issues that I think Kai was really hung up on are all gone. And I'm pretty sure, although it's not going to happen, I'm pretty sure that if I said to Dan, hey, give us a free booth and Kai's going to do the show, he'd be happy to do that. I'm not asking, I would never ask him for that at this point. But I mean, like it could have went different, and all the things that kind of ruined it are gone. So
now, why didn't you guys do this? Should have had a table. Kai had the athlete's contract in front of him, and Robin had like the booth contract in front of him. And you'd be like, ready, set, go. And they both signed him at the same time. Problem solved. Why didn't you just do that?
I should have talked to you, Ron. I should have talked to you.
Damn it.
I think that those guys would never have considered being in the same room at that time, because there had been so much stuff back and forth that I think that Robin would have been scared to be in the room with Kai. And I think that Kai would not have wanted to be in the room with Robin. But I think if you could do something like that, Kai would have been so nervous. He'd have been like doing his signature really slow to make sure he finished his signature first. You know what I mean? He was in full, like, as suspicious as you could be, full conspiracy mode. Like, these guys are, I think also, by the way, we had gotten so far down the rabbit hole that by the time we were at that final moment, he was thinking to himself that he could be the best Kai Greene in history and still not place in the top 6, which, by the way, me and that's absolutely not true. There's no way. That's not how it works. But, when somebody really believes that, truly believes it, like Kai, who has such a powerful mind, if he believes 100% that's the case, then to him it is the case. And maybe his body would follow, thoughts become things, right? So if he's really thinking, I'm not going to place out of the top 6, who knows what that does to the body. I mean, I've seen with Cedric firsthand, where Cedric gets so worried backstage that it is no doubt, like, see Cedric a few days before the show, see Cedric at the show backstage panicking, his body is reacting to his panic, Yeah.
Oh, man, that's a perfect example. But okay, well, thank you for telling that story. That a lot of this was kind of, we had heard bits and pieces of that, but it's never really, Kai never confirmed it. Of course, Robin never confirmed. Neither one of them ever came out and said, this is what happened. So it just sounded like it was one of those weird things where neither one of them trusted the other one to come through with the agreement at the last minute. So it just
and honestly, I get, like I said, I'm obviously not a huge fan of Robin Chang for a whole bunch of reasons.
Okay.
Not excluding what we're talking about now, other stuff that we want to bring up. But take that aside, I get where he was coming from. I understand Kai's a wild card. The problem is that they couldn't put themselves in his position and think about where he's coming from. Instead, they're just thinking that, he is not reliable. But the thing is this is what I told him at the time. If he doesn't do the show, right, you can still cancel the booth. You could say the booth's not allowed in here. They run it. They could tell him, no, you can't have anything in here. Sorry. Tell the union not to bring his stuff in. So they always had the upper hand. So it just became this mental battle, which was what made it so frustrating for me, is because Robin still could do whatever he wants. Like, it's like, you know what I mean? Ultimately, it's like Steve signed somebody at MD, and if the athlete doesn't do what they say they're going to do, he can fire them. So he has no risk at all. The athlete has much more risk because the athlete has now associated with this entity, and now they're together. And if he suddenly is gone, it looks bad on him, and he has no recourse. Well, that's kind of the same thing. Kai had no recourse. He could have literally said, done anything. And what is Kai going to do? He could be like, oh, sue us. And how's that going to happen? So it's I don't know. It's a sucky story, and my big hope is that it's so long ago now, and things have changed so much that the future could look very different, because those issues that we had, or that he had, are in the past, in the distant past. So.
Yeah, and the fact that you laid out that entire imaginary scenario about next year, where he does the Tampa Pro. Hey, Tim, you heard it here first, Tim Gardner. But no, I like that whole idea. I hope something very similar to that actually takes place. That'd be incredible.
Well, I can tell you this, that the coverage of something like that would get a lot of eyeballs, mainstream eyeballs, where people would be very interested if we really showed the ins and outs of it. And I think that, ultimately what Kai wants is not to be, at this point, is not to be Mr. Olympia. That's not his dream. I'm sure he would love it, but he doesn't talk about like for example, I have the Olympia, I have the trophy right here on my desk, right?
Whose Sandow is that, by the way?
We don't know for sure. And I feel weird telling you, honestly, at this point, because it's something that they're probably not super proud of. But so I have had a lot of bodybuilders in here that won't touch that, that don't want to touch it. They're like, Luke, James touched it. But I had a lot of people that didn't want to touch it. Flex Lewis won't touch it. A lot of them don't. They're like, I'll flex like meat. When I hold it in my hands, I'll have earned it, right? Oh, okay. A lot of them don't want to hold it, which is interesting.
They're very superstitious.
Yeah, and Kai initially was like that too. That he's like, that's the, what do you call her? He said like that's the something, some kind
Holy
of
Grail.
Yeah, some kind of analogy like the Holy Grail or something. But now it's like it doesn't mean anything to him. You can tell it picked it up. Means nothing now. So of course he would like to be Mr. Olympia. Every bodybuilder in some way, it's like every bodybuilder would love to own a gym. I never knew I'd own a gym. I never really thought I'd have a gym. It wasn't a goal, but there's nobody who doesn't love bodybuilding and fitness that in the back of their head doesn't think, well, it'd be really cool to have a gym one day.
It'd be awesome.
Everybody does. So it's the same thing for every pro bodybuilder. They all want to be Mr. Olympia. You could say it, they don't want to, but they all want to be. But for him, his goal is bigger, where he wants to reach a larger audience and help people, and help young men, help people, be better themselves. And he'd like to be out there in the mainstream world doing some sort of performing, acting, art. That's really what he wants. And it's a healthy thing to want, because he's 45.
Yeah.
So if he was single-mindedly focused on being Mr. Olympia right now, that may not be the most healthy thing for him as he gets older, because he will. That's part of life. You're not at 45. It's amazing that Kai has no major injuries and no, literally, knock on wood for Kai, he has nothing ever happened to him. He's never had torn muscle, never had any kind of serious injury. He's not in pain. His training has evolved a lot from when he first got in. You remember in the very beginning, Pulcinella videos of him, squatting 5 or 6 plates, benching
7.
5 plates. Yeah, 7 plates. Yeah. Yeah, he was a maniac. I remember watching that first video with Mike Pulcinella, and him saying to get under that bar, you have to have some kind of anger in you. And remember he said that, and I was like, oh shit.
Violent. I think he said violence or something.
Yeah, violence. There has to be something violent in you. And he couldn't understand how Ronnie was like smiling and laughing around because he has to get in this violent frame of mind. And that has changed so dramatically now. You watch him train, and not that he's weak or anything, but seeing him train, the amount of volume he does and the speed, like put it this way, I physically could not work out with Kai. If he goes full speed, there's probably very few people on the planet who could hang through a whole workout because he does hundreds of sets sometimes.
It's like I think people who have watched him train, I've never watched a full workout of his, but legs take him a good 3.5 hours.
Oh yeah. No, he's yeah. Nobody can sit through the whole workout. I mean, it's crazy. I told him one of the things we were gonna do is video a whole workout because I don't think that people have any idea of what he's actually doing. Because I mean, like, so he'll do like a push and pull day occasionally. So he'll do back and chest, and for his push and pull day, he's doing 20 or 30 minutes of abs, 20 or 30 minutes of stretching, and then he does like extensions. Pull downs, or like these kind of like almost like a pull up stretch thing that he'll do, and he'll do that with a flat bench. And then he does, anywhere from 25 to 30 different exercises, supersetted for back and chest. None of it's crazy heavy. He probably only goes to like 315 on flat bench. But he does it at such a pace. So he'll do his back set, or he does back and then chest, take 30 seconds, and he does the next set. So the pace, it's like incredible because he's doing, I guess, 200 or so working sets. I don't know, they're all kind of working sets. 200 sets in 2.5 hours. Yeah. So it's like you're really doing, a few sets a minute practically. It's almost like when you finish putting the weight down, you're switching the other one, and then you go to the next thing, and before you know it, you're going again. So it's very different, but it's not like a lot of these guys. It's not like like the Branch Warrens or the some of these guys who have hurt themselves because they do crazy weights, or even Guy will throw the weight up and and he doesn't. Man, he does the exact opposite. He goes slow. He squeezes. He sometimes on some of the workouts he'll focus really on the eccentric and do like 6 seconds to bring the weight down, 2 seconds to bring the weight up, and time under tension stuff. And he has just prevented himself from having anything catastrophic happening. So at 45, I mean, he has no reason why he can't be just as good. And obviously, Ron, as you get older, legs becomes the issue, or legs start to go away to some degree. That's usually male pro bodybuilders in their later 40s. Their legs they're disappear.
Not you have Kai.
You have good legs.
That's for one reason. That's like the only thing that hasn't shrunk on me is my legs. Oddly enough.
So for Kai, dude, his legs are humongous. Because you got Boogeyman over here. You mentioned Blessing. Blessing is 300 pounds also. They're about the same weight. Wow. Kai is a little shorter. He is Boogeyman has about 2 inches, inch and a half on him. Yeah. But you look at them from the side, and Kai is this thick, and his legs are this thick. I mean, even Blessing's like, what the fuck? Like, because it's a very unusual proportion where he's so humongous from the side like that.
Silverback gorilla. That's
literally,
what I like to,
literally, yeah. He was meant to be a silverback gorilla, no doubt.
Massive.
No doubt.
Well, that's enough about that. I want to commend you on a little action movie that you released called Kenny Omega Saves the REDCON1 Black Friday deal.
Did you like it? It was like a
9-minute little Mission Impossible.
Yeah.
I don't know, spy movie. Who's the guy that played the lead in that with the beard?
Stefan Gatt, one of our sales guys.
Oh wow, okay, he did a great job.
Yeah, he's a wholesale sales guy. He did do a great job. He said he always wanted to be an actor, and so he's put his skill to the test in a few videos lately. So for me, I've wanted to personally, I guess, kind of back away from doing so much of that kind of stuff, because in the beginning I was the lead character in a lot of the things, and I've always, since I'm working for Dave, I've always kind of liked doing that. But now I've been so busy with other stuff. Shooting that what you saw is several days worth of work. It wasn't like that. You can't. Back in the day, I'd just get in front of the camera and do something silly, and then it'd be over. Now it's like a 3-day commitment to be that. And obviously, you could tell, like, Stefan is actually a really good actor. So there's no way.
I counted like 6 different fight scenes.
Yeah, he was great. And then Kenny Omega, who is our new, we signed Kenny and Kai on the same day on Black Friday, last night really, on Thursday night, on Thanksgiving night, when we actually released the deal. This shirt being one of the things in the deal, he is arguably, people. I'm not a big wrestling fan these days. I did like wrestling a lot in the 80s and early 90s.
We all
but I kind of lost interest. until recently, because now all the wrestlers take our products. So we're very, very popular with all the WWE guys and girls, very, very popular with AEW. And so AEW is this new organization that's trying to compete with WWE. It's owned by a multi-billionaire, a family. Tony Khan, and Tony Khan's father is also owns the Jacksonville Jaguars. Very, very successful guy. And those guys are pouring money into AEW to take over and beat WWE. And they have a lot more money and a lot more willingness to spend money. We've actually we're in the process of figuring out a partnership with them. But their big star, they have two big stars, Chris Jericho and then Kenny. Oh. And Kenny loves the product, and he wears the t-shirts, the Redcon shirts on TNT every week. And so we started noticing, like, this is so cool. Every week, this guy's wearing a different Redcon shirt. And we sent him products. He fell in love with all the products. And so we had kind of almost like an organic thing going on where it's like, wow, he's doing all this for free. You know, maybe we should reach out and try to figure something out. And so we cemented a deal and came up with his own product. He's also a extremely avid gamer. He literally says his whole day encompasses wrestling, working out, and video games. He doesn't do anything else. So he doesn't leave his house. This is a 40-year-old man almost, and he does nothing else. His whole life is these things. And so he's actually very good at gaming, very well respected. So he came out with his favorite candy is sour, what are the little lemon drops. And so he's like, can we make a Total War that's a lemon drop flavor? And so we went through the process of many, many, many revisions, because Kenny is extremely particular, like crazy particular. He wanted it to be exactly like this, what he had in his mind. So it took a while. And we came up with the Kenny Omega version of Total War that you get in the bundle. We did a limited amount. We only did 5,000. So it's 5,000 Total Wars with the 5,000 Kenny Omega shirts. And last night alone, Kenny sold 2,500 of them. Wow. So, mostly to his fans. Although a lot of Redcon customers buy stuff as a kind of like collecting, like where they'll collect different unique Total Wars. And we have all these people that have collections. That'll buy one. They'll buy one to use one, and they'll buy one to save it, to put on the wall or whatever. Really, really cool thing. You know, who would have thought? But the culture of the brand is that of where people who love Redcon. They buy every single thing to save. There are people that have hundreds and hundreds of shirts, that have every shirt that ever come out. I mean, it's definitely different than any other supplement. When I tell people that we're different than other supplement companies, that's one very distinct way. What other supplement company do you ever buy one to save as a memorabilia?
I mean, another thing, I'm surprised you didn't mention it. You came out with a product recently specifically for gamers called War Games.
Yes, War Games.
Is that the first product directly aimed at the gamers?
So we've made, yes. So there's a product called G Fuel, which interestingly enough has been around forever. And it was at like the bottom shelf at GNC like 20 years ago. It's been out forever. It was a kind of like a pre-workout product, an energy kind of pre-workout product. And the formula never really took off, but it's been around. It's called Gamma Labs. Remember Gamma O Labs? Remember that? Yeah. So it's been around. So it was Gamma Fuel. And so they rebranded it and made it Gamer Fuel, G Fuel. And this product has taken off. And it's the same formula back in the day that wasn't a great pre-workout, is now this extremely hot, $100 million supplement company that's specifically for gamers. They have partnerships with a lot of big gamers. Like we have with like Kai Greene, they have with the Kai Greenes of video games. And the company has been doing so well that people started asking us, can you make a gaming formula, pre-game? It's a pre-workout. And so we looked at their formula, looked at what's available ingredient-wise, and Eric Hart came up with something that deals with, stuff that was actually important. Low light, like your eyes in low light, hand-to-eye coordination. It doesn't have stuff like beta-alanine or citrulline like the other one, because there's no need for a pump. You don't need lactic acid buffering, right?
Right.
You need mental focus. You need low light eye movement. You need hand-to-eye coordination. And so we made this great product. And it's the first one we ever made. And really, honestly, the first one that's truly designed and formulated for gaming. And it's been a crazy success, man. It's one of those things where, like, I'm not into video games, or I had no video game experience since I was a kid. I bought a bunch of arcade games for my kids from when I was a kid for the house. But I kind of fell out of interest with it. And then when I realized that it's a bigger industry than the movie business, significantly bigger than the movies, and that there's all this $150 billion in revenue from video games, I was like, you know what? maybe I should take a look into this stuff. Like maybe there's something there for us. And I bought an Xbox. I have it in the room over here in our movie room in the office. And man, it's really cool. Call of Duty and stuff. It's actually fun. Now I can't imagine getting sucked into it like some guys that play it all the time for hours and hours. But I mean, like, it is fun. And I've played it, a dozen times probably. And for me, that's a lot. And I think it's interesting. I think that a product that can actually make a difference for these guys and girls, they're big time consumers. So the product is really cool. And I know Kai wants to get in on some of that. And Kenny is interested in doing some stuff. And we have been looking into sponsoring professional gamers, which is very, very weird to think of. But you know what? You have to keep your eyes open for opportunity in this industry, in any industry. Yeah. And the one thing that I've learned over time is you have to be willing to look left and right, and pivot if you need to. And we've had opportunity to do this. And I think that the military ordered a huge order of these for the military. I couldn't believe we're surprised. Yeah. AFVs, the Army Air Force Exchange ordered literally tens of thousands. I don't want to say 100,000, but damn near 100,000 units of the pre-gaming formula.
Wow.
Because the military, they love it. And
well, they're flying drones, they're actually,
or whatever. But pretty damn cool. It's pretty damn cool.
Yeah, I wonder if there are more gamers than there are people that work out.
Right now, probably. So sadly so, I think. I wouldn't be surprised. I know a lot of our guys and girls that do work out, that love the brand, also do a lot of video gaming. It was surprising to me because I'm not involved in that world. But when we announced the possibility of doing that product, people went crazy, man. I was very surprised when we posted the image of the art for it. Yeah. People lost their mind, and I was like, "Holy shit! We definitely need to do this."
Yeah, cool. I think it's going to take off because I really do think gaming right now is probably more popular than any kind of fitness activity.
Yeah,
it just is. I mean, I don't want to call it an addiction, but like my son, he'd be up till 5, 6 in the morning playing with his friends online.
Yeah,
unless I stop him, pull the plug or something. It's a huge market. Wow. Well, Aaron, we've covered some good ground here, and the Kai Greene. Huge news. Congratulations on getting him. And man, if you can get that guy on stage again, 100 points for AARON Singerman.
Okay, I'll take it. I will do trust me, I will do my very, very best.
Because, he's got a world full of fans that they would love. We would all love to see that guy on, especially on the Olympia stage. The Olympia is always a great show, but it's a better show with Kai Greene in it. You can't deny that fact.
No doubt.
He makes it so much more exciting, so much more competitive. Nobody pushed Phil Heath like that, man. Nobody.
You're right. I totally agree, Ron. And I appreciate all your support, Ron, with REDCON. You've, wearing the shirt and everything. I really appreciate it. Repping the brand. It's really cool to see. And obviously right now, the deal of the century is going on the REDCON1 site. So if you want to check out the REDCON1 Black Friday deal, it is certainly pretty damn insane.
Right on. REDCON1.com, yes?
Yes, sir.
REDCON1.com. All right. Well, that's it, everybody. Go to REDCON1.com. Going to save a bunch of money, get some awesome supplements. I use them every damn day. I swear to you, I do. Yeah. And every night, how do I go to sleep? Fade out. That's my
Hell yeah.
Me and Hollingsworth were actually talking, and we agreed that's our favorite product.
That's cool, man. A lot of people love fade out. I mean, a good night's sleep, you can't put a dollar figure on that.
Dude, if you don't sleep right, nothing else flows in your life. But if you get 100%. A great night's sleep, you can take on the world. That's just a fact.
Yep. So, I agree.
So, congratulations on that. Congratulations on the success of the company. And I'll see you in Florida in a couple of weeks, sir.
Yes, you will. Looking forward to it, buddy.
All right, everybody. Thanks for watching Ronline Report with REDCON1's AARON Singerman. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, Ron.
Shop REDCON1.com this Black Friday and enjoy over $260 in free product and apparel. With only a $50 purchase, you'll receive this custom premium REDCON1 leather weightlifting belt, this limited edition 15-serving Total War pre-workout Black Ops Edition Cherry Bomb flavor. We'll even throw in this Black Friday Stealth t-shirt and our official collector's edition shaker. That $260 value is absolutely free this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Save an additional 33% off the entire site. Visit REDCON1.com now to start saving.